Hello, everybody. We're back again with a Reaper in the Grim Dawn. We're heading down the Astrakarn Road, looking for some trouble. Can't go that way. So at this point, we are coming up on the Necropolis. If I can pick a direction to go around this giant rock. Actually, we're coming up on Fort Icon. It looks like. There it is. We have ventured past the veil, fighting off some zealots who think they can hang with us. Just please. Please! Are you fighting against... believe... Oh, that is Death's Vigil. I thought it was just, Black Legion. That's okay. Pick up some money. Gonna clear out everything that I can here before I go down into the pit of ultimate loneliness. I mean, into the base. I did make a couple changes to my devotion path because the more that I looked at it, the devotions that I chose weren't really feeding into any of the playstyle or the damage types of this build, so I ended up getting rid of the... what the hell is it called? The Revenant. Because it's just... it wasn't adding any damage to... it wasn't adding any relevant damage to, the types that I'm putting into, and it's also not really... the skeletons that it was pumping out weren't really prevalent enough for me to warrant leaving stuff in that. So I'm on a new path now. We are actually going to build towards the Leviathan. What is that? Okay, you could just die, please. Thank you. Magistrate's Censor. Gonna lose a lot of damage. Does it do... it's poison damage. Interesting. I mean, it looks cool, but we're not really here to look cool at this point. We gotta finish the game before we can really dig into the look cool factor. Nice of you to show up. Thank you for all your hard work, and you're dead. Blink Slap. So, Fort Icon at the moment, this is kind of the stage of the game where you're... the first time I played through it, I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm about halfway. Which is, on the map, you know, very, very much feels like we're halfway there, right? Fort Icon, Necropolis, Watchers. I guess... Homestead's down here, so that's probably more of a 75% of the way, which is more accurate. We're very, very close to the end of the game. We've got to get into the Necropolis after we do all the Fort Icon stuff, but thank you. Love the dash. We're nearing the end. We are circling the drain of the base game, and we are about to put all these spoopy cultists in their place. These guys are just Kaimon's Chosen. They're just the zealots that we didn't choose. Which I found out, as a necromancer, you are not allowed, period, to go with Kaimon's Chosen. Which is hilarious to me. Like, they really hate us that much. Which is, you know, fine, whatever, have your beliefs, but I'm going to murder you when I just walk near you, so, maybe think about what you're doing with your life choices. Yep, there's all our skeleton buddies. We're gonna kill that guy with the crossbow. We're going to run through this big old tunnel and get this thing going. I still don't use my active abilities much, not because I, you know, don't want to, just because they don't really contribute a whole lot in the damage department. we're still... Once we hit 41, we'll have a couple points to put into... Don't go in there! The ethereals have torn open a rift. More are pouring through. Will you be alright? I'm sure someone will come for me. Don't worry, the Legion takes care of its own. Bitch, I'm gonna go kill all those people. And then someone will come rescue you even faster. Fuck you. You. Bones? Bones. See, it doesn't really... It didn't do a whole lot of damage to the big boys, and our auras already clear out the little boys just well enough, so... It's not that I don't want to use them. I'm going to factor them into the build eventually, but it's going to take a lot of points to do that. Which kind of leads me into how I think progression and leveling really work out in Grim Dawn, especially before you hit like level 70. Focusing on one ability or a set of abilities and capping your mastery bars is incredibly important. Oh, we got the rift already. Would you look at that? So, what I found out, I created an oppressor. I already have all those. We need to pick up this Spellbreaker. I know what a Spellbreaker is, thank you. Let's see. The air reeks of sulfur and smoke. It's difficult to breathe as I write this report. We have been ambushed, facing overwhelming odds. Some kind of ethereal monstrosity has risen up from the earth ahead and is spreading ether fire wherever it passes. I've never seen anything like it. The captain ordered us to punch through the opposition and take out the horrific thing, but he was killed in the initial attack that claimed most of our equipment and troops. The men panicked and we were forced to retreat. I managed to rally the few that were left, but it had become abundantly clear that we would not survive this. I pulled the battalion back to the entrance and ordered a full retreat to Fort Icon. With the ethereals fast approaching, there was not much time to consider our options. I had the quartermaster hand me what was left of our explosive charges. We rigged the tunnel and the entrance and set them off, effectively sealing the mountain pass and the ethereals in with it. I regret to report, with the Twin Falls Bridge destroyed and tunnels sealed, we are now effectively blocked off from the south. But I can take solace in knowing that the immolation we witnessed will not spread beyond the mountain crags. Praetorian Marcus Eden. Necropolis Scout. Commander Lucius ordered a scouting mission to the north. When I asked what we should be looking for, he almost lost his temper and said anything that might cause a disturbance. His reaction seemed rather out of place and strange. The commander is not known for such outbursts. It also struck me odd the way he used the word disturbance. I took my scouting squad through the north gate and almost immediately started seeing some ethereal activity. We changed our course and headed for the hills rather than traveling the main road. It took longer, but we avoided large numbers of the ethereal dead. They appear to be gathering in the north in preparation for an attack. Their numbers have swelled tremendously since my last mission outside the walls. The return trip is going to prove difficult. I sent one of my scouts back to report this information immediately, heading north. We passed by the necropolis from the mountaintop. We did not see anything unusual. Searching as far as we could on our resources, we discovered nothing but the accursed blood cultists everywhere. Avoiding them made our progress slow. We did see one strange thing of note. The cultists appear to be collecting blood in vast quantities and hauling them in wagons filled with the large glass cisterns. We followed for a bit to see where they were being taken, but were spotted and forced to retreat. Sergeant Matthias Castellan. So, things are picking up on the war front. Let's see what Inquisitor Creed has to say.
Master Edric into the armory and recover what's left of the heavy explosives. Use them to clear the rubble. But beware of Lucius. He has shed his human disguise in favor of a monstrous form, which I cannot even begin to describe. You will likely have to deal with him to get to the explosives.
Oh, I'll fucking deal with him. As you could probably guess, the port's seen better days. It's going to take every able-bodied man and woman to bring the fort icon back to its former glory. Carol lend a hand. Well, what do you need, partner? I need someone capable to enter the armory and cover what's left of our scrap and building materials. Supplies were originally designated for Homestead, but with the recent attacks, we can't afford to spare any resources. After Lucius opened the gates and the ethereals started pouring through, I had no choice but to collapse our own gates with the explosives. The repairs will take weeks, but we can't get started without those supplies. Unfortunately, the possessed commander has fled into the armory, perhaps to finish sabotaging what's left of our arsenal. I hear you are experienced with dealing with the ethereals, so I was hoping you could take a look into this matter. Fucking right I am. Alright, so let's venture down into the depths, find the armory, kill the guy, get the supplies, slap him up. Yes, anyway, so back to the point I was making earlier. Oh my god, stairs are over here. That's fine. I knew where I was going the whole time. When you are leveling a character in this game, it's best to find the ability, it's over this way, that is going to clear the mobs most efficiently, and then you'll probably want one or two abilities that are decent for killing the big guys. But ultimately, you're going to want to cap one of those abilities as fast as you can, and then you are just going to ride that phase until the end of days. No, you're going to ride that out until you've maxed out the mastery bar for that class, and then you're going to do the same thing with your other class. So essentially what I did with this build that I wasn't aware was working until I made the connection was our auras. So whoop, if you could just go away. So with the Necromancer, since we got our Spectral Wrath and our Spectral Binding capped out, and we've got the bar capped out, these are our biggest DPS dealers. Reaping Strike is good. Obviously it's just for sustaining power, but it's not, you know, the linchpin of the build or anything. So now, since this is capped out, we'll probably put a few points into Harbinger of Souls to have it, and then we're going to start working on capping out this bar. So we've got Knight's Chill, which is the damage aura, which is, you know, the ability that we want to max out on the Nightblade tree. I've also got a max out Veil of Shadow though, so I can get the radius up to maximum effectiveness, and then we're probably going to pick up a heal. I don't know about Ring of Steel yet. Oh yes, okay. So this does cold damage. We'll probably pick up Ring of Steel. But anyway, so I have our biggest damage dealing abilities, our auras, are either close to maxed out or maxed out, which allows us to clear, which allows us to fill out our bars, which allows us to get to other skills that we want to add into the build later on. Now, obviously, I don't know if these auras are going to take me into late game. We can feel the damage kind of falling off of them so far already. So, if that falls off too much harder, we may have to just sacrifice them for a different build path, which is fine, because obviously there's farming abilities. I don't have the explosives yet. Where's the door? Someone tell me where the door is! Anyway, the abilities they're insanely effective right now at clearing and farming XP for us, right? So we're super efficient at the moment. Once that starts to get more difficult, then we come back and take a look at the build to find out specifically what's causing the problems in those clears. and what we're trying to accomplish with the build itself. So, some of that may fall into devotion, some of that may fall into skill changes or gear. All that stuff is a factor, obviously, but typically your abilities are going to do a shitload of damage on their own and don't necessarily need a whole lot of gear to make them shine, at least in the early stages of the game. And as we're playing all this, obviously I haven't actually made it to the end game as of this episode. I haven't gotten a character to level 100. My highest right now is 75. It's a warder, which is a shaman soldier, which is fucking amazing. I love it, but the grind does slow down significantly once you get up to the elite difficulty, because things are just infinitely more difficult to kill, and you really need to be more invested into the type of damage you're building. You got to start, what's the word? Specializing your build for the type of damage you want to do. You got to make sure all your resistances are as high as they can be. You got to survive a lot more. So things get lots more difficult, which is why we're going through the game on normal right now. We're trying to do everything as efficiently as possible. Legion supplies, we found them. Way to go. Everything's perfect. We're doing it. Yeah. But all that being said, this playthrough and the Spellbreaker, which we'll probably switch back to next week, are probably going to end up being some of my first classes to hit 100 with. Obviously, like I said, my warder is the highest right now, but I'm having a little bit of trouble figuring out how to continue on with it. It's mostly gear that I think the class needs, because the abilities are all maxed out as specifically how I want them to be. I may have to take another look at the devotions, but death is only the beginning, is it? Well, I'll chop you down again. Get on my level. Yeah. That is not a door for me to enter. Someone just shooting me. How dare you? Get out of here, you dick. Nothing there. Basically, I'm just opening up every chest at this point to try and get some more lore, because lore bonuses are good, reading is fun. Learning new words is the best way to read. Deep thoughts. I'm just kidding. I hope it didn't. I hope that explanation wasn't actually necessary. I do like reading, though. I need to focus a little bit more on clearing the mobs and finding the boss, but I'm all about the lore. What I really need to do is figure out how to read the lore without sounding fucking silly as shit every time I do it, because this is not a silly game. Is that's got to be just like right around the corner here, right? There it is. Armory Explosive Investigation. You guys, I'll just kill you first so I can read in peace, you know? Like, maybe I just want to poop and read and not be attacked by a billion enemies. Dead 2, everybody's dead. Piles of bodies lit on green fire. Let's see what we've got here. Which one did we happen upon first? It was this one. After the explosion that destroyed the armory, I went back over this past week's reports and compiled this collection of excerpts, which I found to be relevant. They are pulled together and arranged in order the event took place. I do this in hopes that it will illuminate how this has happened and raise questions of what might be done to avoid future attacks like this. That is assuming we survived. Captain Frederick Backnell. Report 1. From the North Wall, Night Watch. While patrolling the upper wall, I witnessed a soldier enter the armory. I would not make note of it except that he appeared to have been looking around the courtyard to make sure none could see him as he entered the gated door. The torches were out in that area of the courtyard, so it's impossible for me to say who it was. Report from the officer of the watch. Several men have gone missing, and we suspect that they have deserted. Complete search of the fort and surrounding areas has ended with no sign of them, however. The scouts have found no sign of tracks and have concluded the men never left the fort. Report from the Master of Arms. I have discovered 10 small casks and 5 large casks of black powder missing. It's difficult to account for missing supplies since only 5 people in the entire fort have access to the keys that would open the black powder storage. Commander Lucius headed the search himself after receiving the worrying report. Starting from the bottom levels all the way to the top of the towers, nothing was found. Armory explosion. This is my final report on the massive explosion that has destroyed the north courtyard. It is intended to be read with compiled notes pulled together from the past week. With the intent of establishing a damage report in the death toll, I assembled a squad of soldiers and led them into the shattered depths below Fort Icon. The explosion appears to have blown down into the sewers, making the smell in the armory ungodly. That, in and of itself, has made it impossible to go down there. The plumes of smoke reduced our vision and choked the air. Crumbling walls, supports, and floors were in constant danger of additional collapse. The explosion appears to have been centered on a single large support below the armory. At the bottom of the devastation, we found several dead men, charred almost beyond recognition. They appear to be the men who went missing earlier this week. My investigation indicates that the missing men were using the stolen black powder to make an opening into the sewers to make their escape. In closing of this report, I'd like to raise 2 concerns. The first is one of the men was an explosives expert and should have been aware of the destructive potential of so much powder. By itself, I wouldn't give this detail a second thought, if not for my second concern. Another of the men with the Black Legion for nearly 8 years with no signs of dissent or disagreement with command. In fact, he was due for promotion to a commanding position soon. Something doesn't fit here. The tale that is painted indicates sabotage from within, but who would go to such lengths to frame these men? Without more information, I cannot say with certainty what is going on, but my gut tells me that there is more at play here than it first appears. Ooh! And that is going to do it for today's episode. I will be back tomorrow for the climactic finish of this little adventure. Be there. I'll see you. Goodbye.